Hello everyone, I'm Silent Death, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Science Harder Campaign. As our Duna transfer window is only minutes away, we will be launching our Duna invasion fleet today. Before we get started on that, there's a couple of things I wanted to touch on. First off, as we're going to be starting to fling Kerbins to the far reaches of the solar system, we're going to be hiring more Kerbins, and I would like those to have better names. So if you wish to be named after a Kerbin, let me know in the comments. If you have a preference on which profession you are, pilot, engineer, or scientist, also let me know in the comments. However, it may result in you getting an initial, as the profession is based on your name. So for instance, you may be the Bob H. Kerman instead of Bob Kerman. Or just Bob, if Bob works. Another thing is I have started working on a Ferrum Aerospace tutorial. It's been my experience that the various tutorials laying around the internet, while some of them are rather good, none of them seem to cover everything you need to know. So if there's anything particular that you have a problem with in Ferrum Aerospace that you've been unable to find an answer, or if there was something in the past that you had some difficulty finding the answer to, please let me know what those questions were so that I can be sure to answer them in my tutorials. Now then, let's jump to the dynamic Duna and set up its burn. Okay, here we are with our dynamic Duna. Now then, we just need to plug in some numbers. So our ejection prograde delta V is 1058 meters per second. Our normal delta V is 137. Now then, we need to get the ejection angle, which I believe node angle to prograde. We want that to be, what was it? 156.7. So we're looking for node angle to prograde here. That's probably a bit much. And when is the burn time? I want to go backwards. Where are we? Yeah, we probably want to go soon as possible. Just there. Start bumping it up by tiny increments now. 59, 157, 156.7. That's probably as good as we can hope. And now then, let's make sure that we're actually doing this right and check where we're going. So that was probably the wrong screen. On the way out, we got our intercept and everything, so that's probably meaning that we're doing things at least partially right. And we will tweak this a little bit so that we get right inside the atmosphere. So that is lowering our prograde. That is not working. Too much. 37. No, that doesn't seem to be working. All right. Lower, lower. Miss it there. We'll probably just use our thrusters to kind of balance this out. Let's just leave this like it's supposed to be. And we'll use not our thrusters, but RCS to get us right where we want. 16-minute burn time. That is a little bit excessive. No, that's not our burn time. 2 minute. Well, 4 minute and 14, 15 seconds, something like that. That's still not the best burn time. I wish I had someone who could hold SAS, but everyone who could do that is in downtime mode. But get ourselves slowly around. Big giant craft, even with all its SAS, is not going to move particularly fast. We'll add an alarm for, say, change. Fine. Can do it. Pegged over there. A little bit more. This is going to be hard to perfectly line up. And hold there. I may want to use this thing to hold, but it probably wouldn't work right. I've had problems with that in the past. Guess we might try it. Hold node. Doesn't break things. Okay, it's actually holding the node. That might actually work for us. Kind of cheating, but you do have to be pretty exact. The SAS seems to have a bit of a difficulty holding the maneuver node for some unknown reason. I'm not noticing any torque from the engines while controlling this manually. Everything does seem to be balanced fairly perfectly, I think. Or at least good enough for the thrust vectoring to do everything. Eventually it seems to stabilize. I'm not sure if that's the remote tech thing doing that, or if it's just the normal SAS being the normal SAS. But we do manage to get a fairly accurate burn. We, however, have to go back and add another maneuver node, tweak our periapsis a little bit. I noticed, after I finished recording this, that our periapsis was on the wrong side of the planet. If we did it this way, we would end up coming in the reverse direction of the orbit. We want to be going counterclockwise. So for the mid-course correction burn, I guess that's the correct term. Yeah, the mid-course correction burn, we changed the periapsis to the other side of the planet, so that we'll be going counterclockwise. I did not record that. I did not think you would want to see that. Now then, let's move on to the communication satellites. This is the comsats for Duna, the longer range ones, I guess. We're going to activate that and give it Kerbal as a target. That way we'll have something talking to the planet. On our way out, we'll also activate this. And this is going to target Kerbal as well. Then over here, we're going to activate this. And this is going to target the dynamic Duna. Because the dynamic Duna may be bouncing signals off in case it cannot reach properly. We don't have any communication satellites can broadcast from Kerbin to this once it gets out of range of these. So that could be a problem. I've been waiting to get a contract for that. So far, no luck. Let's fast forward a little bit. This one should not be a very long of a burn. Only about a minute. Just under a minute, in fact. And go. Thankfully, we should be all fine communication-wise until we get much further out. So we should be able to make whatever adjustments we need then. Though it's something we're going to have to plan a little bit carefully. We don't want this to arrive at Duna before the dynamic Duna. That could cause problems. This is using pretty much the same burn, though I did have to tweak it a little bit in the time-wise to get an intercept. And it does look like we're going to have enough fuel in the main booster stage for this. Something I'm worried about since we had to burn so much to get this in orbit. 5, 4, 3... And let's check our intercept now. That's... well, it's flying all over the place. Okay, look. You little guy, I do not like you any... Stop it. Well, we're going to be coming somewhere around Duna. That's all we know. Let's time accelerate to... and that stuff out. Go over to our node. I have RCS, so I don't know why our speed is changing. I think we have RCS, I'm pretty sure we don't. A little bit of a tap. Okay, I think that's probably going to have to be as good as we get for now. We have... okay, good. So this is coming in about an hour behind the dynamic Duna. Everything should be perfectly fine there. Now then, it is time to go for that next launch window, because this is not all we're going to be sending to Duna. Even though it's going to be a little bit more pricey in terms of fuel and other stuff, we're going to try to send another couple of vessels to Duna. Let's go back to the Space Center. Alright, it is another week later. Our ships, ComSats, and the dynamic Duna have already left Kerbin's sphere of influence and are on their way. A couple maneuver nodes set up around about halfway to get them nice nudged in there. Shooting for a periapsis of about 15 kilometers above Duna. Being that our things are very, very aerodynamic, we're probably going to have to lower that a little bit more. But it's a good starting point until we get inside the sphere of influence and can use the trajectories mod to figure out exactly what is going to happen. Now then, let's crank up you. To go to Duna, we want to go no insertion burn, and we want to go today. How much is that going to cost us? That. It would cost us not that much, only 2 meters of a second more than if we went last week. That seems doable to me. So let's see what we're going to launch today. We have rebuilt our refueler craft to be capable of interplanetary travel, which basically meant adding a whole bunch of more fuel, adding some more engines, adding some antennas, and that was pretty much it. Hopefully enough engines and fuel that this will not have to go atmospheric surfing to get into orbit. We're going to try to launch this. I'm considering maybe doing even 2 of these, because how much science we're going to be able to get from Duna is going to be primarily limited by how much fuel we have there. The bats use 2,000 meters a second to get to 2 biomes, roughly, if they're close together. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge in that regard to get all the science from Duna, though I'm not sure that we're even going to try to get them all with bats. We may be launching some more advanced craft in the future once our technology improves. So we'll just get this up into orbit, into 100-kilometer circular orbit. Then it's off to Duna with you. The refueler is not the only vessel that's had another trip to the drawing board. The long-necked goose got a bit bluffed. I've cut down the wings. Swapped out the engines with stock turbojets instead of the B9 ones. I much prefer the stock turbojets visually. I like the blue flame instead of the big puffy flame that the B9 turbojets do. We've also shortened the cargo bay by one of the large cargo bay modules because our payload this week is not quite so large. We are launching a set of short-range comsats for Duna since it has an atmosphere, and since all the Omni antennas break off in the atmosphere except for one, the shortest range one. We're doing the same thing we did on Kerbin and adding a group of 5 satellites. I'm not doing the Polar 4. I'm hoping that I won't need it. I guess I'll have to do manned missions if I want to go to the polar areas, but that should be okay. They're mostly just to do missions at some point in the future. We don't have a need of any drone communications immediately, as nothing we've launched so far is entirely unmanned, or at least nothing that's going to the surface is going to be unmanned. Now that we are in orbit, let's have a look at our payload. On and stuff. Pretty sure this has an antenna on it. That should work. Surely those weren't important. One hopes. How many did we lose? Okay, that one might be a problem. Okay, so what we did here was use these universal storage things instead of a normal fuel tank like we have been using. And we stuck the batteries in 2 sides. That's 6 batteries. Open them up. We can't. Well, okay. I guess we can open them up. And in this side, it has fuel. This, yeah, I guess side. Those two sides, it has fuel. Gives it a fair amount of delta V without having as much mass as our normal type of satellites. I guess that's part of the engine. Is that all the stuff you have? Yeah, we'll that. There we are. Going to set you up to target Kerbin. We'll activate you. And that should take care of things. We hope. Now then, I can send this off to Duna. I'm not going to show that because you've already seen it a couple times. And then we'll come back to land the Long Neck Goose Mark II. Going to be using the trajectories mod to give us a rough idea where we're going to be landing. Overshoot the Space Center just a tiny bit. Clicked on the wrong thing there. 3 minutes until our node, that's not very long. Might want to come in a little bit closer than that. I'll just micro it from where we're going to land. We're also going to take this, add a waypoint, use terrain altitude for whatever. That was a little bit off. And then we will select the location on the map. Plop that right there. Change the icon to be blue. And I guess one of those icons would be a good thing. That looks like it's right on it. Might need to tweak it a little bit. Okay. We'll just call this our Kerbal Space Center. Save that. And apparently that little node thing is really messed. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this landing thing done. I forgot to check the aerodynamic properties of this while it was empty, so I'm a little bit concerned about how well this is going to perform. Apparently Limrod has gone to the Dudrick School of Piloting, the no-hands approach. And also apparently the trajectories mod has completely messed up our intercept thing. I don't know why. Maybe it doesn't account for lift or anything. That must be the case, because we way overshot that. Though I am liking the waypoint for finding our way, because we get a heading and not just, a point on the map. A fairly gentle approach. The craft is not very good at low speed performance, but we do come in dropping a little bit too fast and a nice touchdown. With that, it is time to end this episode. Like if you like, subscribe if you're not. Don't forget to comment about the FAR tutorial or if you want to be named. And thanks for watching. I will see you next time.